Top judges all share some mental processes that make them good. Good judging doesn't require good flying. In fact, some judges don't fly at all, but all share mental qualities that make them excellent judges. Let's look at some of these. Part of being a good judge is having a good attitude. Mental attitude can be divided into 5 categories: bias, self-confidence, independence, adherence to the rules, and technical knowledge. First is bias. Judge bias can either be conscious or, more commonly, unconscious. Conscious bias is deliberately awarding a score either too high or too low that a pilot did not deserve. In other words, cheating. More common is unconscious bias. Judges must guard against awarding higher scores to an accomplished pilot based on reputation, sometimes called the halo factor. While this pilot may deserve a good score, he or she must earn it. Judges should also award proper and accurate scores to less accomplished pilots based on what is observed. Lastly, judges should ignore the equipment a pilot uses, the type of aircraft flown, and the particular style of flying that he or she may find appealing. These factors must not be allowed to influence scoring. Next is self-confidence, which is a product of an in-depth knowledge of the rules and their correct application. While most scores tend to be in the mid-range, they may be very low or very high for a particular figure based on what the pilot earned. Don't be concerned about awarding a wide range of scores if that is what you as a judge observed. Judges must independently arrive at the score based only on the pilot's performance and nothing else. Don't allow yourself to be influenced by another judge, the pilot's caller, or any bystanders that may be on the flight line. Opinions expressed by others should not enter into your decision. When communicating with scribes, do so quietly so as not to be overheard by anyone else. Quality and fair judging depends upon a consistent application of the rules to all pilots. Judges must be sure that they apply the same rules to everyone so that pilot performance determines the outcome and not the judges. Judges that cannot apply the same rules to all pilots should disqualify themselves. A judge must also possess a good technical knowledge of the figures along with the appropriate downgrades. At any point during the performance of a figure, a judge should be able to accurately give the current score based on downgrades that have been applied thus far. No matter what method is used to accumulate downgrades, tracking them as they occur is necessary for a judge to be consistent. A high degree of consistency and accuracy is the target for which all judges strive. Now, let's look at 3 maneuvers having some added elements on otherwise simple figures. First is an upline with a 3 of 4 point roll and an opposite 1 1/4 snap or flick roll. On the first point of the 3 of 4, the pilot under-rotates by 10 degrees and over-rotates the next point by 5 degrees, resulting in a 1.5 point downgrade. The pilot then over-rotates the snap by 15 degrees for an additional 1.5 point. Therefore, the figure gets a total score of 7. Next is a 45 down line with a full roll and an opposite 3 of 2 point roll. When the pilot pulled to the 45 down, he was off by 10 degrees, resulting in a 1 point deduction. During the rolling elements, the pilot had 2 roll rate variances for a 2 point deduction. This figure also receives a 7 overall. Finally, we have an upline with a 4 point roll and an opposite 2 point roll. 2 of the 4 points were off by 5 degrees for a deduction of 1 point. The second point of the 2 point roll was over by 10 degrees, resulting in a 1 point deduction. On exiting the figure, the aircraft heading was off by 10 degrees for a further 1-point deduction, resulting in a 7 for this figure. In each of these figures, the judge applied the deductions as they occurred to arrive at the final score for the maneuver. Now let's combine these three figures into a single end maneuver and assume that the pilot makes the same errors as previously flown. What then is the resulting score? When the judge applies the downgrades appropriately, the resulting score for the figure is a 1. This score doesn't mean that the pilot flew poorly, but rather that scale aerobatics is a demanding sport flown to very high standards. Only by applying deductions as they occur can consistent judging be accomplished. It is not possible to arrive at a consistent result by applying an overall impression to a complex figure. For more information, log on to mini-iac.com or arrestisystem.com.